What's the most high-risk, low-reward thing you've ever done? My friends and I used to target and steal those signs that said, "If you are caught stealing, you will be prosecuted." Many illegal things were done and many hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff was ignored to steal increasingly difficult to obtain paper signs. I used to dive in ponds at golf courses to collect the lost balls and sort them to sell back to the courses. It's unbelievable just how many snakes, alligators, and leeches live in those things. I made less than minimum wage, around $6-ish at the time, and had countless close calls with critters. However, the most dangerous creatures on golf courses are old people. They do not give a fuck if you're working. They will absolutely send balls of hard plastic hurtling at your head at 50 miles per hour without a second thought. Then get pissed when their ball hit your tank or cart and split open. Then demand you hand over some of your recovered balls in compensation. I once followed a young homeless man I just met because he wanted to show me where he was staying. It was nighttime and he invited me down into a dip in the trees. We walked through a dark section of forest and he showed me some rocks and small caves with a couple beds set up. Then we left. I literally followed a stranger into the dark woods because curiosity. Suicidality. Masturbate using VapoRub. Climbing up a water tower when drunk to find a friend. Turns out said friend was not even lost, he was yelling at me from the base of the tower. CPR on 2 active TB patients, felt like shit after neither made it. I swam in the Zambezi when I was drunk on a tiger fishing trip. Still can't believe I was that stupid. For those that don't know, it's infested with hippos and crocs. Known for taking people, balanced on the top rung of a 6-meter ladder to change a light bulb at work. Cocaine. Almost called 911 again. Taking a year in a program I wasn't interested in to try and get a girl who turned me down instantly. I skipped class after a standardized test. Literally the afternoon teachers were showing movies and doing nothing, and I decided it was smart to get in school suspension to sit behind a warehouse and nap with my dumbass friend. Whilst building a house, the second floor had an I-beam that extended into nowhere that needed to be painted with rust protection paint. The floor had not been installed yet and the joists were still going in. To save time, I shimmied out to the end of the beam and started painting. Every breath of wind made the whole thing sway. Just my movements made it wiggle a fair bit. Nearly took a 6-meter swan dive to a concrete floor about 12 times. I could have painted it after the floor was in, but that would mean laying down drop sheets and lots of messing around. Should have waited. Was a totally stupid thing to do. Going way beyond the speed limit when I first started driving. When I was about 7, there was some kind of meeting we had at school. Here the school counselor was asking a large group of us if there was anything we were sad or mad about. I think it was basically meant as an introduction to the concept of a counselor. I was sad that my great-grandmother had recently died, and I mentioned it. The counselor told me that it was okay to be sad, that there's a grieving process, etc. You know, the regular advice for that sort of thing. But for some bizarre reason, what I told my mother later was completely different. To this day I cannot figure out why I did this. I don't remember disliking the counselor or anything like that. The only thing I can think of is that maybe I was doing one of those nonsensical "what happens if I do this" thing experiments that all kids do. I told my mom that the counselor had told me, "You need to just forget about it and move on with your life." I had no idea what can of worms I had just opened. My mom was livid. Over the course of the next few days, she called the school asking why the counselor would say something like that to me, and she discussed it with a few different people. They asked what the counselor's exact words were according to me, and my mom sat down and began to write a letter to make it into a formal complaint. She asked me what exactly the counselor said so that she could put it in this letter. At that point I knew this had gone way too far, and I was feeling bad over the fact that I was going to get this woman in trouble. So I finally admitted, quietly, she said, that it's okay to be sad. My mom, dad and grandmother were all very disappointed in me. My mom asked me why I would lie about something like that. I genuinely didn't have an answer for her, because I didn't know. When I said it, I had no idea it was going to go that far. I didn't know that my mom was going to go all the way to making a formal complaint about it. In the few days before she started writing the letter, I was hoping that she'd just sort of let the whole thing go. But she didn't, so I eventually had to fess up. I still feel bad about that to this day, because assuming the counselor was told about this, she had to be wondering why I was trying to get her in trouble. She was a nice lady and didn't do anything wrong. But for whatever reason, I clicked the wrong dialogue choice and quickly realized that I couldn't exactly reload from save. I stole every wheel off the chairs in my high school's computer lab as a joke during a 20-minute break. I still have one of them. Monsieur probably could have gotten expelled just for a slightly funny joke. And a useless chair wheel. Decided to see how fast I could get up to on a nearby neighborhood road. Driving my mother's car no less. Got up to 80 miles per hour in around 6 seconds, I think. And by the time I realized I should be slowing down, the tires were screeching as I tried to stay on the road. It was a mostly straight neighborhood road. 35 miles per hour. That curve near the end leading to a four-way stop. I got up to 80 right where the road began to curve. And as I was turning, I was going so fast that I went over into the other lane. Just a foot or two from going up over the curb. Slowed down and brought the car to a stop at the intersection, and my family member sitting in the passenger seat looked over at me as if he had just shit the life right out of himself. I was 19 at the time, and got my license that same summer. My passenger was 16. I've never had such a powerful moment of instant regret after that day. I didn't feel cool at all. I could have killed a pedestrian, a child, or myself, and my family member. That was the day I truly learned that I could lose my life. And have respected all traffic laws since. Well, to a reasonable extent. I'm only glad that we came out completely unharmed. I started smoking. Like, WTF is this stupid shit? It has literally no benefit. It just makes me uncomfortable when I don't do it, and when I do it is, well, fuck cigarettes. Snuck a girl over and had unprotected sex while my parents were home. Got syphilis at 17. Edit. Did not expect this to blow up. The syphilis has reached my brain. I once climbed an old truss bridge to get some neat pictures of myself. I climbed under it and sat on the beams beneath the bridge. I climbed to the very top. I hung off the edge of the bridge above several rocks. Once I got done and showed the pictures to my friends, and they said they sucked. Edit. Thanks for the rewards. This is now my most liked comment. Thanks, internet people. I'll also be looking for the pictures, and if I find them I'll post them, monsieur. Edit 2. I have one of the pictures I'll post it on my profile. Sneaking into my parents' room at night while they were sleeping to use the ensuite as it was more comfortable than the shared bathroom, monsieur. It took ages as I slowly opened the door and crept across the room too, all for a cozier poop. Thinking back now, that was madness. When I did get caught eventually, my dad screamed, "WTF are you doing in here at this hour?" And when the answer was to use that bathroom instead of the other bathroom, he just about lost his mind.